Hey everybody, Kevin Elliott here with Home Dabbler. I'm sitting in my nice carpet of green grass, and I'd like to do a quick video describing the most common mistake that people make with their grass. That also leads to the two other most common problems. They're all connected together. For years when I had my business, I had lots of properties that I maintained, big townhome complexes and surgical centers and restaurants and all that sort of stuff. And over time, I realized that most people struggle with their grass, not because of any particular pest or fungus or any of those things, although those are problems. The number one problem, the thing that I ran up against the most, is that people cut their grass too short. It's just that simple. Grass, like any plant, wants to grow to a particular height. And there's lots of varieties of grass out there, and each of them grows to a very particular height to be healthy. So in my area where I live, there are three big broad groups of grass. One is the Bermuda grass. That's what you see on the golf courses here in Florida. It wants to grow really, really short, like an inch, really, really tight. And so you can cut it really, really tight. It grows sideways instead of up like this. And so you can cut it down to like an inch. It's great for fairways. The other kind of grass is centipede. Now centipede wants to grow up about 2 inches tall, 2 to 3 inches tall. And if you cut it shorter than that, it suffers. And then you have the really tall grass, really popular here, the St. Augustine grass, and it grows like 4 inches to 6 inches. Now, the thing about grass height that is so crucial is that you should only cut off about 1/3 of the length of the blade of grass at any one cutting. So remember that. Only cut off 1/3 of the height of your grass at any one cutting. And here's why. It's because any plant, if you cut a whole lot of it off at one time, you're going to stress it out. I mean, think of it like this. If you had this beautiful bush or say a tree in your yard and you said, okay, I want to prune that tree. And I said, well, great, cut it in half. Would you do that? No, of course you wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you know it would hurt that plant. It would stress it out. So here's what happens when you cut your grass too short is the blade, because it doesn't have enough surface area once you chop it in half or chop it even lower than that, it can't photosynthesize like it wants to. You've simply cut off a big portion of its ability to make food, and so you instantly stress out your grass. So here's the sure way to tell if you're cutting your grass too short, is right after you cut it, stand back and look at it, and within 10 minutes, if your grass has lost its sheen, like look at this beautiful green. This is my Argentine Bahia I have right here. See how nice and shiny green it is? And you know what I'm talking about if you do a lot of lawn work. If it loses its sheen, if you look back and it looks dull, it looks tired, you have cut your grass too short. You're stressing it out already. And that leads to the two other most common problems in lawns, is that people feed their lawns too much and they water them too much. But why do they do that? Why do they have to water so much? Well, think about it. If you cut your grass down too low and you stress that grass out, it needs more water instantly to stay alive. And so it's thirsty all the time. So you then overwater to make sure that it stays green. Well, here's the problem with that, is that it can lead to fungus, which is a major problem. It can harbor pests because they have a nice steady water supply. The other thing that it does is it will make weak roots in your grass. Your grass, if it has too much water sitting on the surface all the time, it won't ever grow deep, deep feeder roots down deep into your soil. And that's what you want it to do. So actually, you want your grass to have a little drought in between cuttings. So cut it nice and tall, just cut the tips off, and then only water your grass when it really looks thirsty. What that will do is it will force your grass to turn those feeder roots, instead of sideways, turn them straight down and go deep into the soil. And that way it'll make them more drought resistant. That way you have to water less. The other thing is that people feed their grass too much. Well, why do they feed their grass too much? It's because they cut it too short. You cut it short, you stress it out, it looks bad, right? It starts to look dull. So what do? Dump a bunch of fertilizer on it. Then you dump a bunch of water on it because it's stressed out. You then wash off all the fertilizer out into your gutter, and now you're back to square one with short, tired grass. So if you cut your grass too short, you're making it susceptible to drought, you're making it susceptible to bugs, to fungus, and every other problem that people have with their lawn. So Next time you go to cut your grass, try this. Raise that mower deck up at least an inch, bring it up, cut your grass, and you know what? I cut this yesterday. Look at this grass. How beautiful, green, and happy it is. I cut it yesterday. I just cut a little bit off the top, and it is instantly more healthy. So that's the most common problem that people have with their lawns. If you just cut your grass a little taller, a lot of your lawn problems go away. See you next time. Thanks.